We'll open up the sewer commissioners meeting at 4:35, Tuesday, September 16th. Elaine, aye?
Brian Donahoe, aye.
Okay. We did amend our agenda to have a discussion about Cushman Farms tonight, but that will not be occurring tonight. We're going to reschedule that for our next meeting, which is
7th?
19, so that would be.
No, it's 7th, right? Is the next one? So I have. I guess we're gonna be in between.
Did you get?
Today is the 16th, so the 30th.
Okay, you told Cushman the 30th?
I told him 2 weeks from tonight. so
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll go with the 30th
I
then.
know we have one for the 7th.
Yeah, we can push that out.
Okay, as long, all right.
Yeah, so September 30th then. So if anybody's interested in listening to that conversation, it'll be Tuesday night, September 30th at 4:30 appointment, we hope, for that time. Okay, new business, sewer system completion.
Yes, I can talk to that. Is the only thing that's, well, this is, I don't know what this is at. This is talking about the bigger picture. Not on the leaching field, right? That's really not what this is about.
I believe this would be for, like I think where you're going with it, not the leaching field, but future plans for
Yeah, so we had talked about.
bringing the system out further.
About the fact that CDM is in the process of putting together cost estimates to do the design. It's on what we've talked about over the last several weeks. And that should be coming to us momentarily within the next couple of weeks, so we can focus on that with the goal of having something to present to the annual town meeting
Okay,
budget wise, as that will require town meeting approval. There's no SRF money for the design part of it.
right.
We'll work on that process. And then I've met with on the same thing. We've had a delay in the water commission meeting on this because of other business that they've had to deal with. I think now that I understand where they are today, the possibility of a joint meeting and meeting on this subject is on the top of the list.
Okay,
Okay. And I've also reached out to Cheryl Antoine, who's the liaison on the Board of Health to the Sewer Commission. And she and I are going to meet. I never met her before. She works with my wife, this Board of Health,
okay,
tomorrow, and go over the plan and kind of get her the background. And she's very excited about coming to see the sewage treatment plant. So I'll work with Dave on his schedule. And I think what I'm going to do is expand that to at least two selectmen. Person that I thought of, you mentioned Missy was interested in what we're doing. And then Eric as the chair, was going to come before, but couldn't make it for whatever reason.
okay,
Just and see if we can't pull that together in the next couple of weeks. But, Dave's going to, be on vacation, get back in the swing of things. But that's all moving forward. And it ties into pretty much everything else we're talking about. So I'll leave it at that, but tomorrow I'll be up here and I'm going to introduce Cheryl to Jean, just so she knows. And I'll be bringing Joyce back in too, as well.
Good.
And my goal initially, but following up, is to meet with the whole Board of Health, just so they're all on clear understanding. And this is a public health, as we've said a million times, public health issue. It's an environmental issue. It's a water quality issue. This particular phase around Elm Street and South Street is our drinking water for the entire town. Represents about 50% of our drinking water now, and it's being affected by not having sewers in that area. So, for the record, it's a global problem.
yeah,
Issue. We all can't stress that enough. That's the end of my talk.
very good. Update from the superintendent.
Okay, as you know, I'm just coming off of vacation, so luckily, everything's going well at the plant. There were typical issues that popped up and everything was dealt with while I was gone, so it give you a sense of how good of a staff we have back at the plant. So I'm thankful. The whole time I was away, I was thinking about this place, which I shouldn't. But yeah, the staff's doing great. Plant's running well. All the results coming back from the lab are pretty consistent. Some specific things that just in general terms that I noticed just in coming back and just prior to leaving on vacation. There's quite a bit of an uptick on building permits in town.
Really?
So whether it's ADUs, people adding additions on to their houses. You can definitely sense more traffic. There's more things coming through my desk on a day-to-day basis, which, you know, whether it's a issue of us having now room at the plant, the water moratorium being lifted, the ability for people to do ADUs. So I think everything's kind of coming together. There's going to be a lot more activity on a daily basis between
That's
the
what the
building
good news to me.
department and us.
That makes my day.
Yeah.
So it adds to our workload, but just to know that there is quite a bit of an uptick on that end. I had an email from Keith this in my absence that I guess he's going to be leaving shortly in this interim town administrator is going to come in. His name is George Samia, if I'm saying it right. So that should be coming along pretty soon, I believe in the next couple of weeks. It wasn't a set date in the email, but shortly. One of our operators that's been out since January for a shoulder injury had his surgery today.
Oh,
So I just texted him, wished him well, but at some point, I think in a week and a half, he's going to have an evaluation to see how things went. But I expect hopefully by year end, with his therapy and whatnot, that we may see our staffing back up to full staff by year end, or at least early next year. So let's see what else. We had a couple issues while I was gone. One of the pumps at Marion Drive, seal let go on it.
really?
That's a new one again.
Yeah.
So that was 10 months. So we have a rush on it getting rebuilt now. So that was the biggest issue that happened while I was gone.
Is that getting a lot of flow now? More flow?
Yeah, I think when they first came online, we were around 20,000 gallons a day, and now we're up about 45,000.
Oh, okay.
So,
From the mall,
yeah,
that's a perfectly good, that's
Gotta
a really good number. Now we should be checking, I think that they're just, if that's representing the mall's changing a lot. I mean, they're moving things and that's a good
yeah,
number.
it's primarily the apartments because the mall is definitely underserviced.
So that's right at exactly what the treatment plant was for. And that's gone now,
Oh, really?
45,000.
Oh, wow.
So you balance off
Mm-hmm.
what's left of the mall and the apartments there. The apartments, we think, should have been, I don't know, I forget what the numbers, I have calculations everywhere now. But that's a good number to know, and if it's too, but what I was gonna make to that is that since we've had problems with that, you guys, as the mall develops, whatever it develops into, and I think it's gonna be quickly happening, we gotta get that pump upgraded significantly, you know? Start thinking about, have you guys thinking about it before it's not a rush thing, but say, hey, you know what, maybe we need a better pump, a better brand or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This seal thing is, twice in a brand new pump. We got ones over here 20 years old, they're fine.
Yeah, yeah. And I've said this before, I think, and I don't know if some of this stuff is because it was made during COVID that, there was all that sort of stuff, but we've had quite a string of bad luck with
Yeah,
some of the equipment that was brought on during the upgrade.
QAQC wasn't up to me or whatever, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a reason,
Yeah.
but our staff, your staff,
And that,
you don't want to be doing this.
and it leads back to having spare equipment on
Yeah.
site that we can swap it in and out. So
Yeah.
leads to further discussions and the needs for that stuff. So I don't know if you drove around town on Crescent Street or River Street, they were repaved recently.
Yeah,
The highway department was nice enough to work with us to reset some of our manholes over there. So recently, we've kind of given up some of our manholes and frames and covers to them for that, but
Oh, good.
they did the work, so we kind of worked together on that, which is nice. I got a quote for some of the work on Country Club Way to lower those manholes that
Yeah.
are sticking up. Initially, I had a price of about $3,000 per manhole. And I had someone come in, give me a price, we're down around 800 per manhole.
oh, wow.
That's a lot, right?
So significant change.
No kidding.
And with that project, he was supposed to call me this afternoon, but I'll probably hear from him tomorrow. There's two sinkholes on Howland's Lane, just as you come around that wharf lane.
Yeah.
So those are gonna get addressed in that project. And then there's a couple manholes on Bradford Street that also
Okay.
need to be addressed, so. It's in the works, and I talked with Sean from the Highway Department today, just discussing the timeline on that sort of stuff, told him that we're working on it. So,
So it's about lowering the manholes, resetting the brick, whatever's, and then like paving a 3-foot perimeter, whatever.
yeah, and getting those down right now, the raised manholes on Country Club Way, if they go plowing this winter, they're
Yeah.
gonna
oh, yeah.
smash.
It's the right thing to do, though.
They'll damage the plows, they'll damage our manholes. And so
Yeah.
that's the idea. I could have them try and do a berm and build it up again,
No.
but you know what, at
No.
this point, we're gonna drop them down.
No, I agree with
Yeah,
you.
when they pave the road,
Yeah.
whenever that happens, we might all be dead by then. But anyway, we're gonna bring them down, so they're not an issue, and that is behind us at this.
And having enough of an apron of really good stuff. To me, you take like the 2.5 inch, fix, it wouldn't be like the typical 1.5 inch, but just to get a base around them so that they don't break up again, because there's nothing underneath it. So as long as they do it right, and we don't have to worry about it again for a few
Yeah.
years. Okay,
So that's in the works. What else do I have on my list here? So, the town itself, Val from the planning department is doing most of the work on this. We have a 22-month timeline to get a hazard plan together for the town. So we had a meeting on that this morning. And, it's a bunch of departments getting together and working on basically storm events, whether it's flooding, torrential rains, seas coming up from, surges, ice storms, snowstorms, that sort of thing. So we're trying to come up with department by department, what are some things that we do? What are things we're looking forward to addressing
Yeah.
that are issues? And some of this may help get some funding for different projects for the town as well. So we had a kickoff meeting on that today, and it actually is nice working together with the different departments to come up with solutions and problems before they become problems.
that's a really big thing to be ahead of,
And Val's heading up this, and she's so organized, it's great.
Good.
So that's something we'll be currently working on and working through. I think we're gonna meet in a month and go through some more things, but it's nearly a 2-year process to go through.
Just real quick, they're talking about mitigation of storm events, storm surges for like getting into, we've talked about this past, or putting dikes around our pump stations on Jones, that kind of thing. Is that? part
So
of it?
those can be
Yeah.
included.
Yeah.
So one of the things they did, I think it was 2021, 2022, is putting that whole thing down at the waterfront where they brought up
Yeah, everything up.
the landing there to kind of offset some of the damages from the storm. So that was put into effect. So that was part of the plan back
Okay.
then, and this will kind of lead us forward in some of our future endeavors
Good.
and things that, we need to address. Let's see, the plan. The new leaching field, Brian and I, had a Zoom call with CDM. We're trying to address the reseeding up there, some of the damage from the runoff, from the leaching field. And CC Construction is working on setting up a meeting with the water department.
Okay,
So if there's not enough natural rain after they seed, that at least it can be augmented by or supplemented by using some town water to water the seed. We've got to stabilize that environment up there, so
Yeah.
having town water, just for the weeks that it doesn't get rain, we need some support from that, so. That's in the works, the request anyway, to sit down and discuss that. The contractor's taking the lead on that. 'Cause
Okay,
It's
good.
ultimately their responsibility.
yeah,
We may need to help, as much as I don't think we should have to help on that. Of course, it's a contractor issue, but just, I think it's good to bring it up as, it's there. And we don't have time to waste.
right, right.
I got a request, Freedom of Information request from 324 Country Club Way. The deadline on that is the 22nd, which is next Monday. Basically, they're looking for any communications between the town and their engineer and between the town and their contractor. So I'm gonna work on getting that together.
Is this the one with the agent issue?
No, this is the one that they're building a new house right outside
okay.
the entrance to the leaching field.
Yeah.
And they had a septic system designed. But there's a sewer up front. So
No, I got
they
it.
never came to our department with a request to tie into the sewer. So, we're at a point now that, I let the contractor know that they have to tie into the sewer. And so those communications via email, I'll just supply. There was no communication with the engineering firm that designed the house and the septic system.
Yeah, that's the important part is right there is that the engineer never came in to check if there's a sewer or not, and the sewer manhole's clearly on the street. End of story.
Yeah, I had to actually reach out and let the
Yeah.
parties know that, hey, there's a sewer out here. Should be tying in.
And if there's any, this Title V says that.
Yes, yes.
There's a bunch of legal issues there.
I have a whole list of things, so I'm just making sure I don't miss anything. So, yeah, that pretty much covers everything on my end. There's some other things that I don't need to bring up in this meeting, but just to give you a sense of the last 24 hours, because it'll segue us into some of the other discussions. In the last 24 hours on Wapping Road, we had a ceramic insulator up on one of the poles out in the street let go. It dropped off one of the phases coming to our station, so we were running on 2 phases, generator kicked on as it should, everything operated fine. But that's just in the last 24 hours. We had 2 VFDs at Marsh Road, some sort of blip. Took out the 2 VFDs, it didn't burn them out, but shut them off. Station went into high level. So it called out as it should, we responded, got down there, reset everything. And meanwhile, we had 4 people back at the plant. 2 people were loading the sludge tank, receiving septage and monitoring the plant all at the same time. And the other 2 were out doing our samples at the golf course. So we didn't have someone to run out and respond to Marsh Road, which I was in a meeting downstairs and I had to go respond to Marsh Road. So staffing is definitely an issue and I know that's on our list. So I just want to give you a sense in the last 24 hours,
Right,
how many things happen on a daily basis above and beyond checking every pump station in town. So
Yeah.
it never stops, and it's certainly something that we haven't had a lot of time in the last. We were doing good, but in the last year, I'd say we haven't had a breath of time to actually address any preventative maintenance stuff. It's just been daily chores and reacting to things that pop up.
and as you've been saying, and we've been hearing, even though the plant's been upgraded and everything else, there's still all the infrastructure that supports the plant, the pump stations, everything else that's aging. That we're gonna have to start to be proactive, given the opportunity and the time to save money at the other end of it all, so. And I know that's your plan,
Yeah.
so it's just getting us there. So that'll probably be a good time to talk about staffing updates, might as well roll it all into that.
Okay.
Listening to what you've been telling us, and even at one of our meetings, you made the comment that it would be an advantage to have another operator.
Yes.
Dave and I have been talking about putting together an article for town meeting, for the spring town meeting. This article has, it's just a draft, and it just says to, add a, it says the article will add an additional wastewater treatment plant operator to facilitate the establishment of a preventive maintenance program for a 25-year-old collection system. The position will also support the growing operational demands from septic haulers and the expansion of both plant capacity and pump stations. And just based on what the average treatment operator is, like 60,000, Dave, if that's a true statement.
I would say that's a good starting number to work with. Would be plus or minus.
Yeah. So it would be might be a better source of income, because this would be a position that we would want to hire right away. You know, if we're fortunate to get it approved at town meeting, then the next week post for it. So I'm saying from retained earnings, or and then we'll include it in the next year's budget. When you talk about the financials, you'll be able to satisfy how we can do that.
Yeah.
And we've also talked about, and maybe this is the time to bring it up, is to amend this or add to this as a draft for a part-time assistant for Gene.
Okay,
And we've talked about that, and I'm just thinking, as you just talking about, as Dave's just talking about, a lot of what I see with the few times I come in, Dave is in the office working with Gene. And then Gene's got her own things. We had Aaron in the past.
right.
It really worked very well for us on a bunch of stuff. So the idea of adding, at least starting off with a part-time position in the same article, 20,000, I think, is what we think might work.
Okay,
But that's to be determined, whatever that, right? But it's a part-time position to assist Gene. And then working with her position too, just as we move forward, we're gonna get more complicated rather than less.
right.
So I think the time to do it is that. So I would make, not a motion necessarily, but just add that to the article.
Okay, do we want to take a vote to submit an article for town meeting
You do that too?
to add a treatment plant
Yeah, actually-
operator and part-time clerical?
Yeah, the cutoff for the warrant is coming up, isn't it?
Yes, so I think it's September 26th.
Okay, well, even that makes me more important. So
Right.
I will do that. I'll make a motion that we submit to the special town meeting for this fall article to address, as written here, the wastewater treatment plant operator and a full-time wastewater treatment plant operator position.
Yeah,
And a part-time clerical assistant, administrative assistant, to work with our administrator in the office.
okay.
So that's the motion.
And I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
And that's especially what you're saying, there's more activities on building permits and everything else. I mean, it's,
There is so much going on.
right.
So
And-
much going on.
And if I remember correctly, it's wage and personnel that has part-time admin positions, admin titles. So that can be looked into, and we'll figure out what the right amount is. And
Yeah, and I'm not sure the speed of how all this stuff moves, because I've never been through this process before, but I don't know if that's something that has to go through HR and through the union and beyond, to write up the job descriptions, approve the job descriptions, all that stuff.
well, and that's why you've already got, I agreed, if you want to check that out, but there's already a job description for the treatment plant operator.
Okay.
So, it's an existing position, existing job,
additional.
it's just an additional.
Okay.
And as far as, can look into, that's why I'm saying, I believe Wage and Personnel has part-time clerical positions that are paid by the hour.
Right.
So it wouldn't be a new position.
Okay.
It would be utilizing one that already exists
Okay.
with a per hour rate.
Gotcha.
But yes, I have the conversation.
Yeah.
And, we'll get it in and vet it and everything else and see where it goes.
Sounds good, because, just having a vendor come in to do something. It costs so much, it's anywhere from $800 to $1,500 just for one person to come in from one vendor. And if we have to start having people come in to do all this stuff because we're too busy, there's certain expertise that you just need to pull people in. But there's so many things we could be doing on our own end to at least help all our assets get more life out of them. And the more we can do in-house, the more it's gonna save the department.
Being familiar with the equipment, you have guys who do know that now, but to bring people up and training them, and you have just the variability of the equipment, it's good to have somebody who can do everything within a team, I mean,
Yeah,
so.
And it is a good group. We've been able to deal with a lot of stuff in-house. And, this was stuff that in the past, we were subcontracting some of it out. And now we've got a good crew that can
Right.
actually handle quite a bit of what we used to sub out.
yeah.
So,
So if you want to segue into the financials, I know you've only been back one day. So
Yeah.
even if it's a couple of weeks or a month old, we're doing well with septage and we're on
Yes.
track.
so, the closeout of 2025. Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah.
get
fiscal
back,
year, yeah.
got back into one day back, but fiscal year 25, we originally were running, expecting a deficit. It turned out that we have a surplus between our rate changes that we did and our septage revenue increased. In the past, we never had over 400,000 in septage revenue. And FY 25, I think we landed somewhere around 620,000. So it was an increase of 220,000. So when you look at,
And that's a septic.
that's just in septic,
Right.
yeah.
Versus,
So,
that's just the icing in the sewage business.
Yes.
and when you
Just
talk
because of
about.
this. It's not always guaranteed either.
Black gold.
Black roll, there's another way like
Black
that.
gold.
Yeah.
So, when you look at the additional workload that also brings in on us, it helps cut down the expenses and rate, payers having to pay more by having all this revenue, but it also burdens us that we don't have the time to go address other things that we need to do as preventative maintenance. So it's a fine balance, but certainly it's something that if we continue down this path and don't have some additional support to help on our day-to-day stuff and our preventive maintenance, the department definitely will suffer. So when you look at a $220,000 increase in septage and you're looking at maybe 60,000 for another employee, it's not much of it's a gain.
Right,
So.
right.
Just to put this on for future discussion, but the whole idea of we've been kicking around a little bit. Seen that now, but seems to be isolated to an event. It's not chronic.
Mhm.
It's a rain event, and we have some real stuff we're gonna talk about maybe in a minute. But just put that on our radar screen, because I think now that I've heard that tonight, the development's picking up,
Yeah.
using that opportunity to offset some of the II that we knows out there. Because as we approach the capacity side, they have a 50,000 gallon peak when we're at 650. It's not, and there's no other way to go. So now that we're in this position, start to look at that and get some of these projects to put a little bit of money into, come up with, here's a priority hit, from your perspective, here's a priority, start putting a little bit of money into that pump station, upgrade it with with the process we're doing as opposed to being more proactive that way.
Yes, yeah, staying ahead of,
I'll shut up at that point. But it's the news is getting better,
yes.
you know?
And that all brings in more revenue.
Yeah.
So it'll offset the additions we may need to keep things even keeled and not have any major incidences. Okay, so I know you're just back. Any update on 200 Main Street? Anybody seeing anything going on there?
Nothing new, I think from memory that they were gonna be closing mid-September.
Oh,
So
okay,
it should be, I imagine if it didn't just happen, it could be shortly
Okay.
forthcoming, so.
so we'll probably see something next month.
Is this the sewer line connection extension one? Is that the?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the neighbor.
There's been a lot more
just
dig
a-
safe stuff. Every time I go by it, I see there's a little more white. Somebody's doing something.
Well, that's a good sign. Okay, 22 Main Street. I don't know if you've got a brief update on
Just briefly, 22 Main Street, I attached just a draft that, basically in order to correct some issues over at 22 Main Street. And, if you want to just review it, if there's any changes or any additions or subtractions you think might be worth putting in there. I imagine by the end of this week or possibly the end of next week, this will be being sent out.
But just without getting into it right now too much, this is a perfect maybe opportunity for what we just talked about, where a fine, if there's a fine, becomes not a fine so much as what DEP calls this, alternative environmental improvement project or something. They call it SEP. But you take, instead of a fine or a penalty, you say, okay, fix this. So we get the improvement, just to put in the back, you know, as you negotiate, here's the improvement. They don't get the necessarily fine. Whatever this legal stuff does, it corrects the violation. But instead of a fine, it's a way to kind of, this is like a first time kind of thing. So we're not trying to beat the guy up or anything, but, you know, don't do it again. But here, fix this over here. Find whatever that fix it is on your priority list. Just thought.
Okay. Last one we have is DPW update. I watched the selectmen's meeting the other night, and the tail end of it, I sent everybody the link. They had a discussion about the DPW and they liked it. They're on board with trying to make things more cooperative through MOUs rather than creating a brand new department. So we'll reach out to the selectman's office and find out what the pain points are and work collaboratively trying to address their concerns through paper. And, you know, just listening to you, Dave, talking about coordinating Country Club Road, Highlands Lane, and all of them with Sean. So it's just a matter of formalizing it.
Yeah,
So.
having a procedure written down that, you know,
Exactly.
it definitely will help, even like back to, you know, trying to come up with emergency procedure plans for storm events and things like that.
Right.
On that,
Yeah, and maybe along those lines, maybe that could be part of the conversation, because it seems to be that, and this is my understanding that, you know, besides the road work, that who's available in an emergency situation, you know, and maybe that's part of it. You know, if so-and-so has the availability, they can help so-and-so. Otherwise, this will do B rather than A or something, just to make it even more formal.
and just on that same, trying to get this tour, and if I can get Eric come in, I know they're busy looking for a town administrator, but just get him up there because the timing is perfect. And have it, we can discuss somewhat informally the same issue. Understanding what we're dealing with helps to form those. We're dealing with something very complicated,
Right,
and
right.
so I'll make sure we do that in the next couple of weeks. Get that set up
Okay,
after I meet with Cheryl tomorrow. So it's all working good. that's perfect.
And I think what surprises most people about the plant is that there's a basement. The whole city down there,
Oh,
really,
yeah,
that nobody
yeah.
knows even exists if you ride by it.
the guts.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the first, my impression is, it's actually, and I try to watch everybody's eyes, kind of step back and watch this guy do his thing, you know, everybody else, and then, and I'll inject a couple of things, but they look at the wall, the SCADA system, and it's like, what? It's like, ooh,
Yeah. It's,
and then they go to the lab, and then they go down to the basement, it doesn't stop, you know, it keeps going.
then if they're brave, they go to Headwoods.
And that's just the plant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
Usually when we do these tours, we don't take anyone out
Right.
to, you know, all the pump stations.
Right.
And that's its own beast, you know?
It's like, see how deep they are?
Yeah.
They're pretty deep.
And the complexity of keeping that stuff flowing 24 hours a day, 365 days a year without a hiccup. You know, it's a lot of stress on everyone involved, but big responsibility.
It is.
The analogy is for, it's like, okay, you have a car, you rely on the car, your car's gotta keep going. But if the car breaks down, you can go and get another car for a temporary thing. You can't do that. You can't do that.
And it's not like, I mean, even if it's water, you can go buy bottled water
Yeah.
or something. I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway. That's all I have.
So
Because,
there's one other thing I want to throw in the
Yep.
the loop here that asterisk down bottom of my cheat sheet. And I just coming off vacation, I haven't really studied this much, but it looks like on Smith Lane, something came from, I don't know if it was the highway, Mass Highway or what, but it looks like we're having a meeting out in the field on Smith Lane. And I think I might have forwarded this stuff to you
Yeah, you
guys.
did.
So it looks like they're gonna put potentially a rotary. We got Ocean Hill coming down to Smith Lane near the insurance company over here.
Yeah.
They're looking to put in potentially a rotary there. And then over on the other side of the highway doing the same thing.
Yep.
So I don't know how, obviously on the mall side of the highway, we don't have any sewer over there. We don't have any sewer on Smith Lane near Ocean Hill, but that might be something in the future that, say, Ocean Hill ties into our system. So I just wanted to kind of make the commission aware that these things are kind of in the works. And I don't know if it affects anything going forward or not. This is the first time I'm hearing that this project might be rolling out, so.
it's really an interesting place to put a cul-de-sac. It's a calming thing, and for the traffic that they're talking about, if the mall goes full, back to where it was in terms of traffic,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that works, but that's another question. But in terms, onto your point, that Frank Street, that, on the, where the two insurance companies, that is on the sewer.
Yeah, so
Oh, it's projected.
It's proposed.
our manhole, I think, is maybe one, which probably a couple, maybe 100 feet up from the entrance to the insurance company, heading towards the highway. And then it stops, and then there's a house, it's got like a boat and a storage
Yeah,
thing over it. I think they're on a E1 pump that runs kind of down the side of the Smith Lane and then taps back into our service closer to the insurance company. So it kind of ends in that range somewhere. But just something to consider if they're doing all this.
the insurance company's in the sewer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, you're saying it like I was too short. Oh, no, I think
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
comes
Yeah.
there and then just up a little bit
where the
towards
brook goes right in
the
it.
off, towards the off ramp. So.
So should we be talking about maybe extending the line while all this is happening?
That would be, I think, what they're
Yeah.
talking about.
And it might be that, you know,
You only have to
this
be like an
project's
8
too
inch.
far ahead of us, but,
Yeah.
you know, to try and do something while they're in their design and pre-construction phase. I don't know how quick this is
You're
coming.
gonna go to that meeting? Just find it, that's the thing, the key, I think, is what's the schedule of this stuff?
Right,
You know? And then say, listen, if it's gonna go faster, put a native sewer extension up to a manhole from this manhole and maybe a couple of stubs to the side, and we'll be okay. And then CDM doing the other work, they can figure it out knowing it's already there.
Yeah.
Other than that, doesn't look, from our point of view, I don't think it's that complicated, but it's good to have the heads up.
And to me, I don't know if you get a sense of where all this is, but as you come up Ocean Hill, there's this Anderson Ave that comes and kind of dead ends right here.
Yeah.
And where their rotary and road work is, it almost seems like we might be better off if we were to do anything to skirt that whole area, but I don't, to try and come up through the middle of all this stuff. More than likely, this project's gonna move ahead of anything
Unless you
we
put
do.
a manhole in the middle here so you can get access to it and then go over like that,
Mhm.
but
I don't know.
you definitely want a manhole in the middle of the cul-de-sac, I mean, in the street. So your point, if it goes one way or the other,
Right.
having somebody stand there
Yeah, being off that road.
I've done this.
that's-
on Route 9,
Oh, geez.
open manholes on Route 9.
Oh, you're kidding. That's bad enough without being in the street.
Surveyor, my father, and no detail. So this, like this,
Oh, jeez.
You know what I find seeing a lot is flag people.
Yeah,
more and more.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of cops are older that don't want to do the details.
Yeah. So will you have attended this before our next meeting?
I believe so. I thought I wrote it on my calendar here.
Because we can always have the update on that meeting. September 30th.
Yeah, I didn't write one.
Okay.
So I've got it on my calendar on my desk, but it's coming up soon, so I want to say it's next Tuesday. But I'll double check on that, but it's, from what I recall, it's before our next meeting.
Okay.
You can look it up real quick, hold on, you wanna-
Which, and maybe this is just something that, hey, this is 2 years out and we're just kind of walking around to see if there's any concerns from the
Yeah.
town, because that would be ideal. That if we could get something, because I just see as a future potential, that whole Ocean Hill area. Quite a bit of dense population. It all comes down towards that Smeltbrook
Yeah,
area, so it's definitely a
Especially
good
where
fit. It's at the end of our system.
Brian said that, the proposed is up by Frank Street anyway. That's was in the phase.
yeah, that's on, that whole bill was on the lesser priority, but definitely, because it's so, that Smellbrook area coming down, and that's a lot of clay up there.
Yeah.
And that's what Bill, if he was here, there's a drumlin. So it's all glacial till, an overlay of sand, but that whole thing goes up, and it goes up under the mall. And then it heads over to Monk's Hill.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's the reason I'm gonna meet with the water commission a little bit on some things on the snow, on their well. But if you look at Smell Pond, where the mall is, it's sand, but then it's down only about 30 feet, it's all clay, it's all glacial moraine. Into the inland side of that, there's a lot of clay, which is glacial Lake Taunton. It was there for hundreds of thousands of years. A big lake, and the one's out like in Cape Cod Bay, so this, that's why Smell Pond is stuck up like this. And then it drains out really fast. The water, it's almost like a waterfall. When
Really?
water comes out of Smell Pond, it drops 45 feet before it gets to the dump.
Wow.
They keep going. There's all, as you know, we're living on Rocky Nook. The Rocky Nook is ledge right there. And as you start going inland, the ledge is only down a short distance, and there's clay and a little bit of sand on top. And it thins off as you get up to the mall. It's like this much. But Mary O'Donnell's side, the industrial park, she's taking all the gravel off, and now you're down in the clay. So you can see it. But the wells that we have go through the clay, and all the water's underneath it. So there's no connection between Small Pond and the water we drink.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna get into that with these guys, because it's a very important piece of information for them, to us.
And I don't know offhand, do you happen to know the deadline for getting this article in for town meeting?
I think it's like September 26th.
26th.
What day is the 26th?
Friday.
Yeah. I think that's the date.
Next Friday, right? Not this Friday.
Correct.
Week from, yeah.
Yeah. But I'll amend this tonight and send it to you, and then you can fill in the blanks with the money and all that.
Okay. So there's two different directions we could go with that. We could go with a grade 4 operator, which would be a little cheaper for us, or a grade 5 operator. Right now, our operators are all set at grade 5.
That's your,
The positive part of having a grade 5 is they can do on call.
I think you're right. That's your call.
The
Whatever
positive
you
part
think.
of a grade 4 is it's easier to find someone with a grade 4 that's just starting out of the box. And it gives kind of an intermediate step.
So can you do both? I
I
mean,
was gonna say,
thinking a grade 4 with the, I've seen with the, ability to get a grade 5 within
Within a year.
18 months or something.
Yeah, typically we've written it in as within a year.
So that would be what,
you just put the money in for a 5. And only pay them, obviously, the 4.
Yeah. Yeah, because if we have it for a 5 and they come in as a 4,
That may be have to be a
HR.
union discussion.
yeah,
So if you want to make it a 4 out of the gate because it's easier, and then change it to a 5 after the fact with whoever needs to be in that discussion,
right,
I'll go in with the 5. You decide.
okay. Yeah, we'll take a look.
yeah, this gets into the genes, potential change, the same thing.
Right.
Move her out of union into region personnel, and this all probably ties together, but
If we can get something initially for the fall
Mhm,
and then revisit in the spring,
mhm. Yeah, I just wonder which would be better in terms of fast tracking, or what would be better long term? And I can have that discussion with HR
yeah,
and see.
yeah.
I like the idea of farming a grade 4 and working them up.
Yeah.
So you have labor, a grade 4, then grade 5, so there's a series of steps.
and you get a chance to observe and see how this person works,
Mhm.
and this is the right mix or whatever, but.
Right.
Yeah, and just having the opportunity to know that you're gonna go better,
Mhm.
that's a big thing.
Well, I'll talk to HR. and see.
Yeah, you,
'Cause I kind of feel it's 6 of one, half dozen of another at this point.
okay,
But,
you manage, so that's up to you.
alrighty.
All right, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.